The name of Jamaica comes from the Arawakan name for the island. This original name is thought to mean land of wood and water, land of springs, or even rich in springs, as the island is home to incredible natural beauty. Over time, this name changed to the name we know it as today, Jamaica. Now, this is a satisfyingly Caribbean etymology for a satisfyingly Caribbean island, yet it's here the Caribbean names for the country seem to fall a lot at the wayside. If you look at a map of the towns, villages and cities of Jamaica, you will notice that a huge amount of these settlements will have either an English or a Spanish name. Let's have a look at some of these names. Of course, we have the capital of the island, Kingston, which shares its name with the borough of London, Kingston upon Thames, which in turn gets its name from a town in Yorkshire. It's a whole thing. But beyond that, we have the three counties of Jamaica, called Cornwall, Middlesex and Surrey. This is so bizarre to an Englishman like me, as Cornwall, Jamaica looks like this, and Cornwall, England looks like this. Jamaica even has its own West End. This West End, however, is a beach paradise and not full of musicals. Yet also in the Cornwall county, we have the country's second biggest city of Montego Bay, and its traditional county town is called Savannah La Mar, which in Spanish means plains by the sea. I think what perhaps makes my point most clear is that in the Middlesex county of Jamaica, we literally have a town called Spanish Town, though Spanish Town is actually the name given to the town by the British. The Spanish actually called it Villa de la Vega or Saint Gerard de la Vega. But anyway, I'm sure you guys are understanding just how odd this situation is. So why do so many settlements in this Caribbean paradise have names that originate from a country in the Mediterranean and a country that prides itself on moaning and its rain? Well, the short answer to this is empire, specifically the empires of Spain and Britain. It was the Spanish who were the first Europeans to find and settle the land, led of course by Christopher Columbus. Columbus's exploration of the New World are perhaps some of the most well-known explorations in our history. The part of his travels we need to look into, however, is when he landed on the island of Cuba. The story goes that the Cuban natives weren't too happy with Columbus and his men on their land, so to try and get him away, they told Columbus of an island south of theirs that was rich with gold. With figurative dollar signs in his eyes, Columbus and his men left Cuba and set sail for this gold-laden island. But of course, when they got there on the 3rd of May 1494, there wasn't as much gold as he was initially told about. Nevertheless, the Spanish settled on the island. Columbus named it Santiago, but this name didn't really catch on. The Spanish unfortunately enslaved, murdered and raped many of the indigenous people of the island. There are some absolute horror stories about what the Spanish did to these people. Some stories tell us that the Spanish would compete to see if they could cut their heads off in one stroke, and letting their dogs hunt them, allowing them to tear them apart. The first Spanish settlement on the land was founded in 1509, named Sevilla la Nueva, New Seville, referencing the city of Old Seville in Spain. However, due to being built by swampland, the settlement didn't flourish like the Spanish expected. This led the Spanish to relocate the townspeople to the south of the island, founding in 1534 the aforementioned Villa de la Vega, Spanish town today, which became the capital of the island during the Spanish regime. And of course, there were many other settlements founded by the Spanish in Jamaica. Some of these have kept their original Spanish names like Las Choleras, but some have also had their names anglicized like Caguay becoming Caguay Bay, and now Passage Fort, and Esquivel, now Old Harbour. However, with the genocide of the indigenous people and the lack of any of the wealth that Columbus was told about on the island, Jamaica was deemed useless to the Spanish, becoming not much more than a supply base for them, and a good vantage point for them to help in their conquest of the more bountiful island of Cuba. Spanish rule on the island lasted from 1509 till 1655. The British Empire was eyeing up the island. Sugar was becoming more and more popular in Europe, and they saw the flat, fertile lands of Jamaica as an excellent place to grow, harvest and export the sugarcane. As I said, the Spanish, despite having rule of the island, didn't care too much about it, allowing it to not be as highly guarded as some of their other territories like Cuba. This led to the British easily taking control of Jamaica from the Spanish in 1655. Of course, the British needed labour to farm the sugarcane, and with the indigenous people of the island more or less gone, the British turned to transporting slaves from West Africa to do the work. Unfortunately, these slaves weren't treated by the British much better than how the Spanish treated the natives of the island. When they were captured in Africa, they were herded and branded like cattle and forced onto ships heading to Jamaica. The British put bans on the slaves, not allowing them to celebrate their African culture in any way, banning their music, languages and religion, being taught Christianity by the English in an attempt to remove their minds from their homeland. Of course, as well as being horrendous to West Africans, the British made many settlements in Jamaica, most famously the country's capital to this day, Kingston. As I said, named after Kingston here in England. Kingston was founded in 1692 in the fallout of an earthquake that devastated dominated much of the land. From here it grew into the island's centre of trade and business like we know it today. It was later on during the British rule of the island in 1758, the 3 counties of Jamaica were named by the British too. These were of course Cornwall, Middlesex and Surrey. Other English names cover the island too, like the city of Falmouth, Jamaica, the Manchester parish of Jamaica and Twickenham Park in Jamaica. There was British rule in Jamaica till 1962, when on the 6th of August, Jamaica became an independent nation and is still part of the Commonwealth to this day. But it's not just English and Spanish names that cover Jamaica. With the British conquest came Scottish settlers to the island, naming parts of Jamaica things such as Aberdeen, Dunkeld and Tarlock. Welsh names too like Pembroke and Cardiff Hall. The National Library of Jamaica have an amazing page on their site that explains many of the names that